we're not going to be successful if we don't allow people that invest billions of dollars in plant and equipment to bring a lot of their people from their country to get that plant open, operating, and working. I'm sorry. So my poll numbers just went down, but with smart people, they've gone way up.
The United States once led not just on economic issues around the world, but on moral issues around the world. And Donald Trump is just burning that to the ground.
Well, the president finishing up a successful visit with the Saudi Crown Prince, at least from the Trump administration perspective and the Saudis' perspective. But the issue of affordability, the issue of how people feel about the economy popping up in our latest polls, a personal financial situation now, excellent, good, 40%, only fair or poor, 60%. You can see that changing from July. Condition of the U.S. economy. Also a perception totally upside down, 76 to 25, and that changing a bit. And then economic conditions for the nation and you personally, again, 25% positive, 76 negative for the nation, and then 60-40 personally. So let's start there. Let's bring in our panel. Fox News contributor Kim Strassel, Olivia Beavers of the Wall Street Journal, and Democratic campaign consultant Kevin Walling. Kim, let me start with you. You look at those numbers, you feel where we are and people talking to reporters around the country, and obviously the politics of this moment. Where do you see it?
Well, look, the Republicans just got a really big wake-up call, and now the White House is fully focused on this. You have the president out at McDonald's, and they're highlighting this little thing, that little thing. But what's really dawning on Republicans is that something more and big is going to need to happen if they want to turn around the economy and get the credit for it so that they go into the midterms having fulfilled what many voters felt that they had put Republicans in the office to do. Two things I would note. It's been a little quiet on the tariff front, and I wonder if that might be a deliberate attempt to try to dial that back some, to give some calm to the market and some calm expectations. Also, Republicans talking about a second reconciliation bill that might look at health care affordability and taxes that could go a lot farther than some of the little proposals that people are talking about now. Yeah,
and you know, there is this focus on foreign policy and obviously the visit of the Saudi Crown Prince and all that the administration, the president has been doing around the world. Some analysts are saying maybe middle America is not on board with that. Take a listen.
If you're in MAGA and you're America first, what the hell are you thinking today? Every issue that they care about, including things being really expensive and them being very worried about whether they're going to get a job or their kid's going to get out of college and enter the worst job market that we've seen in 5 or 10 years, not even really discussed.
You know, Kevin, the administration says we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can do both things, change the world, get investments into the country, and those investments are going to change our economic situation.
Yeah, Brett, no question. And that clip you just played of the president talking about making things back in America again with these investments. When it comes to AI investments touted by the Crown Prince in the Oval Office, when it comes to critical minerals, especially things like magnets or lithium, which is critical not just to our national security, but for everything, every kind of device in this country, I think it's incumbent on this administration, and they've touted this affordability agenda. The president going out there, McDonald's speech was the first one this past week, but he's got to make that connection for these huge international investments in this country back to spurring manufacturing. And take it from the guy who tried to sell Bidenomics for 4 years to the American people. If the American people aren't necessarily feeling it in that moment, it's incumbent on the administration to really drive that message home.
Yeah, and Olivia, there are some projections that next quarter growth could be through the roof based on what's happening as far as investments coming in. Translating that to how people feel at their kitchen table is the challenge.
It is, and I think some of that takes time, but like we were talking about earlier, the president is seeming to taking this more seriously after initially striking a note where he didn't seem to be believing the polls or that people were in pain. The November 4th election seemed to show that the Democrats who are hammering this issue again and again saw some sort of success, and we'll see if that translates down the line. But it might be a little bit longer until we actually see the economy shifting.
Meantime, there is still a foreign policy focus, Kimberly. The New York Post, U.S.-Russia drafting Gaza-inspired peace plan for Ukraine. 28-point framework calls for Ukraine to cut its army by 250%, force Kyiv to turn over long-range missiles or any kind of that could reach Moscow or St. Petersburg, total ban of any international brigades within Ukraine. And this is according to the Post. We've seen some specifics about all of this as it's developed. The question is, one, what does Russia get land-wise? And two, is Ukraine ever going to buy into this?
Oh, right. I think one of the problems with this narrative was right there in the headline. It said U.S.-Russia drafting this. I mean, where is Ukraine in this? And we've had the president say before, well, he can't negotiate peace on Ukraine's behalf. That's absolutely true. And there's a lot of provisions in this draft plan that have been absolute no-goes for Ukraine up until now, including some of these land concessions and the all-important question of just what kind of guarantees are given. So the bigger question in my mind is, what is Russia being asked to give? You know, we had this big summit between the president and Putin. What exactly came out of that? How exactly has Russia backed off in any way? This seems to be very much the same, maybe with the U.S. imprimatur.
Yeah. And, you know, Kevin, I think that the negotiations so far have been between Steve Witkoff and Kirill Dmitriev, and he spent 3 days apparently huddled together to try to come up with this plan. But, you know, whether the Ukrainians go for any of this is really the question.
That really is the question. And to Kimberly's point, it seems like the security guarantees are the key focus. Obviously, there's been reporting that our Army secretary is over there with some other military individuals likely hashing out some aspects of what those security guarantees would be. But again, to Kimberly's point, I agree. And you've seen senior Republicans and Democrats, especially in the Senate, raise concerns about negotiating behind the backs of the President Zelensky and Ukrainians, and that being a problem.
Finally, here's the Attorney General on the DOJ and the Epstein files.
The DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information that new information, additional information, and again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads.
So they're saying they're going to come forward. This bill has made it to the president. We assume he's going to sign it, right?
Yes, he said he would sign it, and so it's a matter of it going forward. It went really quickly after it passed the House, through the Senate, and now to the president's desk. So I think we're just waiting. It's a 30-day period where they're going to start getting files on, and some of this was, you know, the push from the House. It was based off of the belief that the government wouldn't actually do it. So this is aimed to compel them. That was a little bit of a curious statement from the DOJ, but you know, we'll see what comes out.
We will see what comes out. We'll follow it all here. Panel, as always, thanks.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.